Level 1, the recruit.
So, have you thought about what comes next?
I just want to do something that matters.
I just want to do something that matters. This is the perfect place to start.
You're 17, sitting across from a recruiter who's done this 1,000 times. He asks why you want to join. You don't have a clean answer. You just know you've always been the kid who could hit anything, cans on a fence post, a moving target, a coin flipped in the air. Your uncle taught you to shoot when you were 9. You never forgot it. You take the ASVAB. You score well enough to choose almost anything. Medical, intelligence, logistics. You choose infantry. 11 Bravo. Everyone in the room thinks you're crazy. You don't explain it to them. You don't fully understand it yourself yet. You just know you want to be close to a rifle, not a desk. MEPS takes 2 days. Medical screening, background check, the oath. You raise your right hand in a room full of strangers who are about to become the only people who understand what's coming. You're not a civilian when you walk out. You ship to basic training in 3 weeks. You don't know it yet, but somewhere in the next 10 years, a piece of paper with your name on it is going to read, Distinguished Honor Graduate, U.S. Army Sniper Course. You don't know that yet. Right now you're just a kid with a good eye and no idea what that's going to cost. Level 2, the private. Fort Jackson. They shave your head. They issue your gear. 10 weeks of basic combat training under a drill sergeant named Okafor who never raises his voice because he doesn't need to. Week 3, the rifle range. 40 targets, 25 to 300 meters. Most recruits are happy to qualify. You don't just qualify, you shoot a perfect score, and you do it again the next week, and the range NCO starts watching you instead of the targets. Where'd you learn to shoot like that? He asks. My uncle, you say. A fence post. He writes something down. You don't think about it again until graduation, when your company commander pulls you aside and tells you there's a designated marksman slot opening up at your next unit, and your name is already attached to it. You graduate. Your family is there. You're 18 years old, Private E2, making $24,000 a year. You ship to Advanced Individual Training, then to Fort Stewart, Georgia, 3rd Infantry Division. You don't know it yet, but the Army already has a plan for you. You're about to find out what it is. Level 3, the Specialist. You're the new guy in a rifle platoon, lowest rank, most equipment, every miserable job nobody else wants. But on the range, you're not the new guy. You're the guy people stop to watch. Your platoon sergeant, Staff Sergeant Halvorsen, 14 years in, 2 deployments, notices the same thing the drill sergeant did. He puts you on the designated marksman rifle, a step above the standard M4, longer range, heavier glass. You start training separately, an hour after everyone else stands down, just you and Halvorsen and 500 rounds.
You've got the eye. Eye's common. What's rare is the patience. You don't have that yet. We'll see if you get it.
You deploy. Afghanistan, Kunar Province, 9 months. You're a designated marksman now, attached to your squad, engaging targets other riflemen can't reach, 400 meters, 500 meters through smoke, through dust. Your first confirmed engagement is at 430 meters, a fighter setting up a machine gun position on a ridge above your patrol. You take the shot. He drops. Your squad keeps moving like nothing happened, because to them, it didn't. To you, something just did. You come home. You're 21 years old, Specialist E4, $32,000 a year. Halvorsen puts your name in for something you didn't ask for, a slot at the United States Army Sniper Course, Fort Benning. You've got the eye, he says again. Let's see if the Army can teach you the rest. Level 4, the Sniper Candidate. Fort Benning. 7 weeks that strip you down further than basic ever did. Less than half the class will graduate. The ones who fail aren't weak, some of the strongest soldiers you've ever seen wash out in week 2. This isn't about strength. You learn field craft, how to move across open ground so slowly that an instructor standing 20 feet away never sees you get there. You learn camouflage, hide construction, how to disappear into terrain that has nothing to hide behind. You learn the discipline of staying motionless for hours while insects walk across your face, and you don't flinch, because flinching is how you die in a real engagement. You learn the science behind the shot, the variables that turn a rifle into something closer to a calculation than a weapon. Distance, wind, elevation, temperature, humidity. None of it matters if you can't control the only variable that's actually inside you, your own breathing, your own heartbeat, your own mind, and the half second before you commit to a shot you can't take back. The final field exercise runs 4 days with almost no sleep. You're evaluated on every skill at once, stalking instructors who are actively hunting for you with binoculars from positions you don't know. You get detected twice. You adjust. You don't get detected a third time. You graduate. Distinguished honor graduate. Top of your class. Halvorsen drives down from Stuart just to watch you get the tab pinned on. "I am patience," he says. "Now you've got both. You're 23 years old, Specialist E4, recommended for promotion. You report to your battalion's sniper section. You're not a designated marksman anymore. You're a sniper. Level 5, the sergeant, team sniper. You're promoted to sergeant within the year. The section needs NCOs, and you've earned it. You're paired with a spotter, a quiet soldier named Drummond who reads wind like other people read sentences. You train together for months before you ever deploy together, because a sniper team only works when both halves trust each other completely. You deploy. A counter-IED Overwatch mission, supporting a route clearance patrol through a valley known for ambushes. You and Drummond hike 4 kilometers at night to a position overlooking the road, then wait. You wait 11 hours. The patrol moves through at dawn. Nothing happens. That's success. 11 hours of nothing is the job working exactly as designed, and almost nobody who isn't a sniper understands that. 3 weeks later, it isn't nothing. Drummond spots a fighter positioning a belt-fed weapon aimed down at the same road, 610 meters out. He calls the wind, the distance, the correction. You adjust. You control your breathing the way they taught you at Benning, the way Halvorsen taught you before that, the way your uncle taught you on a fence post when you were 9 years old, and had no idea any of this was where it would lead. You take the shot. The threat is eliminated. The patrol never knows how close it came. You feel something you don't have a clean word for, not pride exactly, not guilt exactly. Competence, maybe? You did the job correctly, and because of that, a dozen soldiers you'll never meet get to go home to people who are waiting for them. You finish the deployment with confirmed engagements in the low single digits. Every sniper section logs this number, quietly, without ceremony. You're 26 years old, Sergeant E5, $42,000 a year. You don't talk about the number at home. You've already learned that. Level 6, the Staff Sergeant, Team Leader. 8 years in. You're promoted to Staff Sergeant and given your own 2-man team. Drummond moves on to lead his own. You train a new spotter from scratch, the way you were trained, patience first, everything else after. This deployment is different. Longer missions, higher value taskings, intelligence-driven instead of route overwatch. You spend 14 hours in a hide site for a single 5-second window, watching a compound through a scope, watching a man you've been told is responsible for a string of attacks on coalition forces. You watch him long enough to learn the shape of his ordinary day, when he eats, when he prays, when his children run out into the courtyard to meet him. The shot, when it finally comes, is clean. Confirmed. The mission is logged as a success, because it is won. By every operational measure, you removed a threat that was going to kill more people if you hadn't. That night you don't sleep well. Not because you doubt the call. You don't doubt it. It's something quieter than doubt, the specific weight of having watched someone's whole ordinary life before you ended it. Nobody at the schoolhouse taught you what to do with that weight. You learned, slowly, that the answer most senior snipers land on is the same one. You carry it, you don't talk about it much, and you keep training the next person so they're at least prepared for the part that training can't actually prepare anyone for. You're 30 years old, Staff Sergeant E6, $51,000 a year, married now. Your spouse asks how the deployment went. You say it went fine. You're already learning that fine is going to mean something different for you than it does for everyone else for the rest of your career. Level 7, the Sergeant First Class, Platoon Sergeant. 12 years in? You're promoted to Sergeant First Class and made Platoon Sergeant for your battalion's sniper platoon. 4 teams, 8 soldiers, all of them younger than you were when you first picked up a sniper rifle. You're not the shooter as often now. You're the one assigning missions, reviewing engagement criteria, making sure every team that goes out has trained enough to come back. You attend the senior leader course. You're selected for an instructor rotation back at the sniper course at Fort Benning, the same range where you graduated, 14 years and 1 different war ago. You teach field craft. You teach the science of the shot. But you also teach the thing nobody taught you, because by now you've figured out it matters as much as marksmanship. Every target downrange is a person, and the distance makes the trigger easier to pull, not the decision easier to live with afterward. Some students think you've gone soft. The ones who've already deployed know exactly what you're talking about, because they're already carrying their first one. A young sniper candidate washes out in week 2, devastated, certain his career is over. You pull him aside, not because he failed, but because of how he failed. He froze on a target he wasn't sure about. That's not a weakness, you tell him. That's the only part of this job I never want you to lose. You recommend he reclass into reconnaissance instead. 2 years later you hear he made team leader. You think about Halvorsen, who's retired now, raising cattle in Georgia, and you understand for the first time what it actually felt like for him to watch you graduate. You're 35 years old, Sergeant First Class E7, $63,000 a year. You've spent more nights in a hide site than in your own bed for entire stretches of your career. Your kids are old enough now to ask what you did over there. You give them an answer that's true and incomplete in roughly equal measure. Level 8, the Master Sergeant, Section Leader. 18 years in? You're promoted to Master Sergeant and given the sniper section for an entire brigade. Every team, every mission, every piece of equipment, your responsibility now. You deploy one final time, in an advisory role, training a partner nation's emerging sniper program, teaching the field craft, the discipline, the math, and the part that always comes last, the part about the weight. You watch a partner force soldier take his first confirmed shot and you see, in his face afterward, the exact expression you can still remember on your own face at 26 years old, standing next to Drummond, not having a clean word for what you felt either. Back home, you sit on promotion boards now instead of standing in front of them. You write the after-action reviews that become training doctrine for sections you'll never meet. An incident review crosses your desk. A junior sniper second-guessed a shot under pressure and hesitated half a second too long. Nobody was hurt, but it could have gone the other way. You don't punish him. You sit with him for 2 hours instead, the way nobody sat with you long enough, early on. You're 41 years old, Master Sergeant E8, $74,000 a year. You've trained more snipers than you can count exactly, somewhere north of 200, scattered now across units and wars you'll only ever read about secondhand. You think some nights about how many of the people they didn't have to engage are alive because of training decisions you made years before any of them ever picked up a rifle. You'll never get a number for that. You've stopped needing one. Level 9, the Retired Sniper. 22 years. You retire as a Master Sergeant, full pension, a folded flag, a room full of soldiers you trained standing at attention for you the way you once stood for Halvorsen. He's there too, 81 now, slower, still ramrod straight. He doesn't say much. He doesn't need to. You move somewhere quiet. A piece of land with a long, flat field behind the house. You put up paper targets sometimes, just for the discipline of it, not for anything else. Your hands are steadier than most men your age. Your hearing isn't what it used to be. Some things came with the job that nobody warns you about until you're already living with them. You think about the number sometimes, the actual confirmed count, the one you've never said out loud to anyone outside your own chain of command. You think about it less as a tally and more as a list of moments, each one with its own weight, its own weather, its own 5 seconds that took 14 hours to arrive. You also think about the other number, the one nobody keeps, the soldiers who came home because a threat never got the chance to engage them first. You'll never know that figure exactly. You've made peace with not knowing it. Your son asked you, once, what the hardest part of the job was. You almost say the obvious thing, the shots, the waiting, the watching. But the true answer is quieter than that. The hardest part was carrying all of it alone for years before you learned how to set any of it down, even partially, even with the people who loved you. In the spring, they asked you to speak at a graduation ceremony at Fort Benning. You stand in front of a room of soldiers who look impossibly young, the way you must have looked to Halvorsen once. You tell them the truth, that the eye is common, the patience is rare, and the wait is the part nobody can train them for, only warn them about. They listen politely. They don't fully understand yet. You didn't either. Somewhere right now, a 17-year-old is sitting across from a recruiter, talking about a fence post and an uncle and a feeling he doesn't have words for yet. He's about to choose infantry over everything safer they're offering him. He has no idea what that choice is going to ask of him over the next 20 years. He'll find out the way you did. One range, one school, one hide site, one 5-second window at a time. The eye is common. The patience is rare. The wait is the part you only understand once you're already carrying it.